Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of IOHR TV. Europe has curbed funding of 6 towns in Poland. The EU's decision came after 100 Polish municipalities declared themselves LGBT-free zones, therefore discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation. Each town will see an economic loss up to 25,000 euros. Poland is considered the most homophobic country in Europe, and the re-election of President Duda has now raised many concerns. Today I'm interviewing Bartosz Staszewski, who is a renowned Polish activist. Through his photographs, he is documenting the lives of LGBT people living in the so-called LGBT-free zones. He's also the producer of Article 18, an internationally recognized documentary about the LGBT struggle for equality in Poland. Bartosz Staszewski, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
The European Union has curbed its aid to the Polish areas which discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation, the so-called LGBT-free zones. What is your take on that?
This is a diplomatic way of showing the people, not to the people, but to the local government, that homophobia don't pay off. You will not get European funds if you will go this path. Of course, on the one side, I see that we as citizens will lose on it. But on the other hand, maybe this is the only way to push the governments, local government and the government of Poland, to not go this path, to show that the European Union is not the union of empty words, but those money we get are based on some values. When we went into the European Union, we agree about some things. We agree about some values that we share. And if we are not sharing them, simply as that, we are not getting the funds. And when I hear politicians that are very loud about this right now, Polish politicians, that is just because of the fake campaigns I created, as they used to say. There is no hope in our president, there is no hope in our government. So the only hope right now we have is in the European Union and the international pressure.
You have created an initiative called LGBT-FREE ZONES Project, which is a photography project. You are taking photos of LGBT people living in towns which declare themselves to be LGBT-free. Tell me about these pictures, the lives of these people and their struggles.
I go to the places which declare us LGBT-free, or the free from the LGBT ideology, as they used to say. And by the ideology, the politicians from those zones means that the two men or women holding their hands in the public spaces, this is the ideology for them. I am going there, making the pictures with my sign, which is the LGBT-free zone sign, putting a face of this homophobia, which was hard to spot because it was the lawful acts. The bills they created, it was hard to build on this on a campaign. By my sign, I make people possible to spot this homophobia. And on the other hand, I also ask the people who are living in those cities, places, who are LGBT people, to show up in my project, to give testimonial about how it is to live as an LGBT man or woman, or the LGBT people man in there.
And how is it to live there?
They are afraid. They are afraid of what will happen. They are afraid of come out in their families. I had some few contacts with the people who, on the very first step, wanted to join my project, but on the very second, they told me that they are too afraid to do this because they don't know what will happen when their families will understand that they are an LGBT man. Politicians created so-called LGBT-free zone acts, which are kind of symbolic because there are no police going through the city and searching for those people from minorities. But on the other hand, this is the chilling effect they are creating. The effect, which means that the people who want to come out will be afraid to.
How do you select the subjects of your photographs?
I usually post post on my Facebook page that I am searching for people from those zones, contacting the local NGOs if there are any over there. But I also see that this is the problem, that now more and more people are more scared to join my project, and more of my none of my pictures are right now without any of heroes. So this is also a sign that people are scared.
Bartosz, you're not a stranger in Poland. Poland is your country. What do you feel when you look at the photos that you have taken?
I think that when I'm looking on those photos, I see mainly the people who are heroes because this is kind of brave thing to come out as an LGBT person publicly now in Poland in 21st century because you can face very brutal homophobia.
In a recent article that I read, Paweł Knut, a Polish human rights attorney, said that the country has never been a safe place for LGBT communities. But how did we get to such intolerance and the creation of LGBT-free zones in Poland?
I think it was a long way that started much longer before the land justice government, before government, liberal government created by civic platform party was mainly not touching the LGBT topics, not telling usually that this is some replacing subject in the public debate, that this is not the real important issues that we should take care of. We don't have the hate speech law that was never introduced in Poland. Therefore, we have no civil unions, marriage equality, and the bill for the transgender people to have the change of their sex. Now we have this land justice government which use this empty space of us not having our rights. They created a documentary before the election last year that activists are paid to go on the different pride parades, and therefore we see them on each of them. Of course, it's a lie. Nobody is paid to go to the pride parades, but this is the things that they are doing.
The spread of fake news and hate speech targeting the LGBT community by politicians as well as media is very common in Poland. Being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual is shamefully seen as a synonym of pedophilia. You tried to organize a pride in Lublin which was banned and it was accused of promoting pedophilia. Tell me about the association LGBT and pedophilia.
Yeah, I think yes, the media are highly responsible for spreading such fake news things and disgusting things in among people. Public TV, which is owned by government, create a space, media opportunity for right-wing NGOs which are connecting those things. Like the gay people are adopting kids because they want to rape them. And you hear such a things in the public TV that are told many times by those right-wing activists, and public TV telling that this is just an opinion in a debate, and different other things that are happening there. So then you have this like politicians that are in Lublin, which are telling that our pride parade is promoting pedophilia, and just because he told these politicians that our pride is promoting pedophilia, we could sue him for it and make him responsible for it, because usually when they tell about the LGBT movement and stuff like this, we are not under the protection as a minority, so we cannot do nothing about this. And this is the small moments when we can feel that there are some paragraphs, some law that are protecting us, but just only in the cases when they are just telling about us directly, so we can use this law what is protecting the people on the daily basis.
In July, President Duda was re-elected. What does his re-election mean for LGBT rights in Poland, as he compared what he calls the LGBT ideology to communism? He's against same-sex couples to marry, and he believes that schools should not teach classes on gay rights.
Re-election of Andrzej Duda means for the LGBT community especially that it will be the continuity of our struggle, that we will be not treated equally, we will be treated as a second category citizens, that this short silence that we have right now, that he's not speaking about us so loud that he used to during the campaign. It's just a silence before what will came.
What kind of narrative is Mr. Duda trying to push in the country?
The narrative he's trying to push is that they are defending the Polish family, Polish traditions, Polish Christian values, that the base for Poland are Christian values. So they need to defend them, and they see us as an enemy to them, even if we are sometimes believers, sometimes Christians, they don't think about us by this way. They are on the war, they are on the fight, war, as they used to say, on the culture war, where they want to win. And this is why they see us as an enemy. They see that everything that happened on the West, the empty churches, as an example, are somehow connected to the LGBT issues or the rights that people are fighting for our cause, and this make them somehow unmoral, unethic, that people are living without Christian values, or they are living according to the Christian values, but without the church, and it should never ever happen in Poland.
Pope Francis, compared to other popes, is more open to a debate in the church about LGBT rights and has claimed that the church should apologize for how LGBT people are treated. However, with what is happening currently in Poland, I'd like to know, what is the position of the Catholic Church on the violations happening in your country? Has there been any stronger and more recent condemnation of the LGBT-free zones, for instance?
The only reactions are those the bishops and archbishops, which are creating the homophobic atmosphere. The Archbishop Jędraszewski, which last year told that we are the rainbow flag, which was very disgusting words, and we told that somebody should tell that it's not right. Somebody from the Catholic Church should tell it, but no, it was with a big support of the Catholic Church and the conference of the Episcopal Conference of Poland. We see that Polish Church is a political player in this game, strong political player in this game, and they're playing together with the Land Justice Party with this plan, that with this strategy what they're creating.
You have recently met with Mr. Duda. How did the meeting go?
I was thinking that I will meet Kevin Spacey from the House of Cards, and that it will be very hard, as you are meeting the leader of the country. Like, you will think that he's the best of the best of the politics, and suddenly I recognize that he knows nothing about the LGBT rights. He is very poor in rhetoric. I was speaking with him, telling about our struggle, telling that he is responsible for the suicides among the LGBT kids that are now rising. I mean, we know from research that the suicide rate is rising, and I was thinking that maybe somehow we'll try to respond to it, or convince me that it's not right, but he couldn't. When I hear from the head of the country that we want to create one big LGBT zone, and I ask him, what do you mean with this? And he cannot answer to it, because he's just putting from his mouth some slogans he heard before. So I think that we have big problem with the head of the country, which is representing us in the internationally, and have very big problem to answer to simply questions.
Do you think he was really poorly informed, or he was simply ignoring the realities you were presented to him?
Is he fully informed, or is just playing with me that he never heard about this, and playing a good father which want to take care about us, and asking me what we need in Poland? So I need to, he told him that we want him to stop telling this propaganda about us, and it will be much easier for us. Of course, he told me that he'll never agree about this, because we want to create a LGBT zone in Poland. I told him that he's the only one who is creating a zones, and his party, which are the LGBT-free zones.
I've read that you abruptly left the meeting.
So after 30 minutes or 40 minutes in the meeting with him, I was exhausted with his propaganda. I left these pictures that I bring with me, the pictures of the teenagers that committed suicides, on his golden table, and I left without any handshake, telling him that I hope that he'll have nightmares with those kids, and among others that will commit suicide because of the propaganda.
The right-wing Law and Justice Party came to power 5 years ago. Its agenda is based on the defense of traditional family values, but by talking to you, I've realized how broad conservatism is in Polish politics. Do other parties in Poland take the issue of the LGBT community seriously or not?
In last elections, we've seen that then 49 percent of votes get Trzaskowski, which is from the Civic Platform. Civic Platform, which has this very, very bad history of promising people different things and not doing this. So, and therefore also Duda won the election. They are this party which are conservative on the things that they are doing, liberal conservative, and they're quite afraid to touch the LGBT topics. Even now, even if we see that the people like the LGBT minorities are in struggle, we should have the strong voice of everybody, not just the left-wing party. This is as a main reason why the politicians from those times don't have such a big problem to approach those human rights things, and why Justice Party, by different tricks and populism, restored this dignity in the people, giving some welfare program to the poorest and to the people who has the more kids. We are lacking of a good political class which will represent us, which will be charismatic and will do what they promise.
Just out of curiosity, I've read that many people fled Poland because of discrimination. Do we know how many Polish people have left?
I think that many, and there is no, I didn't heard about any research about this. I hope that there will be some. I used to say it for a long time that we had this first wave of the migration from Poland when we came out to the European Union. It was the migration based on the economic based, and now we have the second wave of migration. That is the wave of the dignity. People are leaving Poland not because of the economic reason, but because of the dignity reasons. People don't want to be fighters for the whole life. They just want to live the simple life. And I know everybody knows simply one or more person that left Poland or just are preparing to leave Poland, and therefore I think that the number can be huge.
Same-sex sexual activity was made legal in Poland in 1932. You directed and produced one of the most important documentaries on LGBT rights called Article 18. Tell us about the Article 18 of the Constitution and how it is used today to spread the anti-LGBT agenda.
Yes. For many years before, we heard that by the previous government and politicians from this government that they told us they would willing to create civil unions, but they can't because there is this Article 18 of Polish Constitution that states that the marriage is a union between the men and women and is under the special protection of the states, and nothing more. And we used to say that, okay, dot and nothing more, it makes us think that we can create civil unions. Of course, marriages are under special protection of the country. So it means that other like unions between the people will be not under maybe so special protection, but still are possible. We think that even if we don't have the civil unions now, it's not the time to tell about the civil unions, it's time to tell about the marriage equality. It's also a story about how media approach this subject. For many years, we've seen that the homophobes was asked to the debate, invited to the debate, to the table, because journalists' approach was that they have just a different opinion about those things. We need to invite them, and it was a very bad decision because now everybody thinks that dehumanizing people, that telling that we are pedophiles is another voice in the debate. No, it's not a different view on the debate. LGBT rights are human rights. Marriage equality is a human right. Adoption rights is a human right, and the human transition for the transgender people are a human right. So there is no other view on these things. I don't believe it. And this is the thing that we spoke out in our documentary, therefore it's so important.
Oh, by the way, what is the rainbow behind you?
Yes, this is the eagle, which is the Polish coat of arm, and suddenly a few years ago, when we connected it to the rainbow background that happened around the world, I mean, the Prime Minister of Canada was doing the same thing, and he was proud of it on the Pride Month. And when we connected the rainbow things to the Polish coat of arms, suddenly we are destroying and respecting Polish coat of arm. So, and this is this kind of rhetoric that they want to tell, that we are against the country, against the Polish values, showing to the people that we cannot have our own creations of the coat of arms, even if you can see them in the different patriotic shops for the football players and football fans. So those things are allowed there. But if you are an LGBT people, man or woman, you cannot do this, because it will be the blasphemy, it will be the unrespecting thing for the eagle, and this is what is happening. So that slightly cutting us from the storytelling that we are something foreign.
Bartosz Staszewski, thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a nice day, and I hope that this interview was helpful for you.
And thank you for being with us for another episode of IOHR TV. From myself, Margherita Kargasaki. Until next time, goodbye.